Then warm up physical activity like yoga, music, and movement. Um, you can use music and movement or yoga, any type of physical activity, or just ready or involve the learner and become friendly with the environment. Then 9:30 to 10, theme or topic based activity. That is, this activity can organize the language or communication activity, discussion, story, rhyme, or story. Any activity you can take. Then 10 to 10:30, indoor play, free organized. This is a free indoor play session. Then 10:30 to 11, snacks time. 11 to 11:30, activity related to cognitive concept. It may be a shape, identification of shape, what are related to the cognitive part. Identification, shape, number, concept, these are. 11:30 to 12, language and early literacy activity, self expression, or by showing a picture card they express themselves. Phonemic awareness, handling storybooks, picture reading, letter sound correspondence. This related to the second developmental goal and the language development of the children. Then 12 to 12:30, activities for creative expression, maybe not related to theme. It is maybe related to the. We have already discussed the DG2, effective communicator, or activity for creative expression. It may be a drawing or painting activity. 12:30 to 1 p.m. outdoor play, free organized. This is a timetable you can mention in your report before third phase. Then this is also the elaboration of this report. Now we go for our module, that is module 7. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
ଏବେ activity organize କରିବାର କିଛି ଆଉ doubt ନାହିଁ, କେମିତି organize କରିବ?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, previous page ଟା ଆଉ ଥରେ ଦେଖେଇବେ?
ଏଇଟା
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍, ୟା ପରଟା।
ଏଇଟା ଏଠି ମେନସନ୍ ହେଇଛି
ମ୍ୟାମ୍,
ମର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଟାଇମ୍ ୱେଲକମ୍ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଟିଚର, ୱେଲକମ୍ ଗ୍ରିଟିଂ ପ୍ରେୟାର ଆଣ୍ଡ କନଭରସେସନ୍। ଦେନ୍ କନଭରସେସନ୍ ସ୍କିମ୍ରେ କ'ଣ ହେଉଛି, ଆନିମଲ୍ସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ବାର୍ଡସ୍ ଭିତରେ କନଭରସେସନ୍ ହେଉଛି, ଫ୍ରି ପ୍ଲେ ହେଉଛି, ଏକ୍ସରସାଇଜ ହେଉଛି। ଏଠି ମେନସନ୍ ହେଇଛି 30 ମିନିଟ୍ସରେ କ'ଣ ହେଇଛି, 50 ମିନିଟ୍ସରେ କ'ଣ ହେଇଛି, 30 ମିନିଟ୍ସରେ କ'ଣ ହେଇଛି।
ए भानुप्रिया किए म्यूट योर माइक।
We have already discussed that whenever we you organized your 1 to 10 number activity from for the first 10 days in the second phase, you cannot flexibility to interchange your activity. But whenever with regard to scheduling the activity as 11 to 30, the schedule suggests that you organize 2 activity sessions per day, carrying out these 20 activity sessions in 10 working days. While this is your suggestion, this is our suggestion, or the regional center suggestion, on you have flexibility to organize the 20 activity. You can take 10 days for organizing 20 activity, or you can take 20 days for organizing the 20 activity. फास्ट 10 days रे तुमको 10टा एक्टिविटी करियर अछि मस्ट, बट सेकेंड 10 days रे जो दुईटी एक्टिविटी तुमको करियर अछि से जगह रे तुमे दुईटी करि परिबो किंबा गोटे करि परिबो, माने इट डिपेंड्स ऑन योर प्लान ऑफ एक्शन। प्लान जदि तुमे दीटा करि परछ तो दीटा एक्टिविटी करि परिबो, नले फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी अछि तुमे से 10 days जो फेज 2 रो सेकेंड फेज रो फेज 2 जो 10 days रो दुईटी एक्टिविटी करिवार अछि सेठी तुमे गोटे करि पारो किंबा दीटा करि पारो। दिस इज टोटली upon you and you have the flexibility. And also you have flexibility in interchanging the activity sessions 11 to 30. ଯାହା ଟିକେ ପୂର୍ବରୁ I have already discussed that whenever 11 to 30 you have organized 11 to 30 number activity, you can interchange the activity whenever you completed your theme on activity 4 session 4, and then you go for the storytelling about the activity session theme, then you go for the storytelling session. So in this 11 to 30 activity, you interchange your sessions depending on your theme. While interchanging or replace activity session only with one another activity session and B activity session with another B activity session. ଯାହାକି ତୁମ ଥୀମ୍ ବେସ୍ଡ ହେବା ଦରକାର। ଯଦି ଥୀମ୍ ମୋର ଅଛି ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟ, ତ ମୁଁ ସେ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଥୀମ୍ ମୁଁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟେଡ୍ କଲା ପରେ ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ନେଇକି ଷ୍ଟୋରି ଟେଲିଂ କରିପାରିବି, ତାକୁ ନେଇକି ମୁଁ ପେଣ୍ଟିଂ ଅର୍ ଡ୍ରଇଂ ସେସନ୍ଟେ ନେଇପାରିବି। You also have flexibility in changing the particular theme you have listed. I have already told. And while using the flexibility, what you have to keep in mind that is that the number of activity sessions related to particular area do not change. ଯଦି ଡ୍ରଇଂ ପେଣ୍ଟିଂ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ମୋର ଚାରିଟା କରିବାର ଅଛି, ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିପାରିବି ନାହିଁ। ତ ସେ ଚାରିଟାକୁ ମୋତେ ମଷ୍ଟ କରିବାର ଅଛି, କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ କାହା ପରେ କେଉଁ ଥିମ୍କୁ ନେଇକି କରିବି ସେଇଟାକୁ ଇଣ୍ଟରଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିପାରିବି। This is the sum of this mandatory that you organize the certain number of activity sessions in the 11 area as prescribed earlier in this session, but you have flexibility in scheduling the activity session over the days and selecting the theme of the activity sessions. Any doubt? ବୁଝିହେଲା କି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
And duration of an activity sessions. The duration of each activity session should be around 30 minutes, wherein you will carry out one or more activities. Duration particularly or approximately or 30 minutes ରହିବ. You would remember having read in unit 30. Already you have completed about the timetable in the unit 30 of your DEC paper 1 or course 1, that a time period of 25 to 30 minutes is usually recommended for an activity session. I have already told that the small kids or the 3 to 6 year children are lost time span. ସେମାନଙ୍କର attention for they give their attention for 25 to 30 minutes. Otherwise they became bored. So you have to keep it in your mind that the every activity session must be about 25 to 30 minutes. ତ ଛୋଟ ପିଲାମାନେ ଅଧିକା ଟାଇମ୍ ଯଦି ଆମେ ନେଇଯିବା ତ ତାଙ୍କର ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ ହେବନି, ସେ ବ୍ରେକ୍ ଦେୟାର ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆମେ ଯାହା ଶିଖିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଥିବ ଶିଖେଇ ପାରିବାନି। We cannot achieve our goal or we cannot develop develop the developmental goal um, by the students. So we must plan our activity or organize our activity timetable within 25 to 30 minutes. Uh, much time is usually needed for setting off, introducing the activity, getting the children involved, and winding up. In some cases, an activity session may continue for a longer time if children are engrossed or in case it involves activity like going for a walk or a trip. Obviously, whenever we organize a trip for them for observing the environment or any neighborhood or any park, so it must take maybe take maximum time and it must take 30 to 45 minutes or maybe 1 hour. Usually, it is difficult to maintain the interest of children beyond half an hour for the most of activities. Whenever we take them go for a walk or a park, it generally it take much time. because setting them and come back them with discipline take much time, and during this observation also it take more than 30 minutes. Otherwise the children do not create interest beyond half an hour. The activity or activities you organize in a session have to be broadly within the parameter that are already discussed in the 7.7. We are already discussed in the last class. In many cases, in a particular activity session, you may need to string together a series of activity um, in order to do some justice to theme and to keep the children occupied for the duration of the activity session of about half an hour. For example, in the activity session on colors, you could devise the following activities: asking children to touch object particular color in the room, asking children to form group on the basis of a particular color you call out, asking children to find partners who have the same color card as they do, identifying labeling colors of fruits, vegetables, flowers, and other things. Sometimes, whenever we create groups between or go for pair work, that time you follow the color of vegetable, and sometimes we call the group by the vegetable name, and by their t-shirt or uniform name. So this activity on colors, it could devise the this type of activity, and this type by this type of activity you can organize the color activity, or you get involved the children within the coloring or drawing activity. Each of these individual activity would take between 5 and 15 minutes depending upon the number of children in your group and the number of colors you use. Therefore, to organize an activity session on the theme of colors for half an hour, you would need to conduct two or four such activity. This cluster of two or four activity would constitute one activity session for your purpose. So you can divide the 25 to 30 minutes whole session into part of the session, and the coloring activity step by step you can organize. In first 10 minutes you call for the group, and in second 10 minutes they are involved with each other. In the third 10 minutes they get involved into the coloring activity. So you can divide the whole session into three or four activity session for the same theme. Let us take up another example. When organizing outdoor play activity to foster physical and motor development, you may have two or three structural game in the activity session of half an hour, or leave children for free play for half an hour, or have one structured game in followed by free play during the remaining. So, in the yesterday class, we have already discussed that whenever the educator bring the child to the playground, and there they go for free play activity. According to the interest of the children, they go for some go for jigsaw, some go for slide, some go for sand work or sand play. So you divide the whole free play activity into smaller sections. Some children play with stands, some children play with slides. So this like you can whole 30 minutes can be divided by some smaller sessions. Then writing the activity plan and report. Activity plan for the session. The activity plan should give a complete description of the activity or activities that you plan to carry out during the activity session. It should clearly explain each activity to the extent that another person is able to carry it out by reading your plan. ଯଦି ତୁମେ ରିପୋର୍ଟ ରାଇଟିଂ କରୁଛ ତାକୁ ଯଦି ଆଉ ଜଣେ ଦେଖିକି ପଢ଼ି ଦେଉଛି ବା ବୁଝି ହେଉଛି ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଭେରି ବେଟର ଭେରି ଗୁଡ୍ ଫର୍ ୟୁ. The activity plan should be state how the activity aim to foster children's development. I've already discussed. You made a report, detailed report according to your notes, and also the report analyzed by you, and what is the development, what type of development occurs in this activity should be mentioned, and what is the developmental goal linked to the activity, it should be mentioned. So give a description of the activity or content. When writing the description of the activity in the activity plan for a session, state whether you would be carrying it out with all the children together or with a few children at a time. This aspect will become clearer to you on reading subsection 7.5. We have already discussed whenever the class is about to 15 to 20 kids, you can take all together the kids, but whenever it beyond the 15 to 20 kids, you have to organize the group activity. And also we have already discussed about the activity 7.5. Also state the description, the expected duration of each activity. କିଛି ପିଲା ଯଦି free play କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଆଉ କିଛି ପିଲା concept ରେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ସେଟାକୁ free clearly describe, you have to describe it clearly. So you plan the session into two session, and in the two session what the children are doing, that should be mentioned, and for each session what should be the developmental goal for the children, and what type of development occurs in this activity, it should be mentioned. So list the material required for it. State in the plan whether the materials are available in the preschool, whether you would be making them or obtain them from elsewhere. So before carrying out your activity, you must plan uh, what are the teaching learning materials or play materials you used in that activity, and it should be approved by your guide. Sometimes the play materials or the teaching learning materials are available in the preschool. Sometimes it may not be available, so you have to bring them or organize them or make them yourself. So it should be mentioned in your plan, and during the doing the activity, you can before organize the play materials or teaching learning materials for the kids. So the above details must be given with the regard to each activity that you plan to carry out during the activity sessions. The following should be the format of your activity plan. First, goal of your activity, description of the activity, then materials required. What is the goal? What development occurs uh, whenever you carrying out the activity? It should be clearly mentioned. Maybe it is a physical development activity, maybe it is a motor skill development activity, maybe a social, emotional activity, maybe a mental activity, cognitive activity, whatever activity you organize, and behind the activity, the goal is clearly mentioned. Then description of the activity, whatever you organize or whatever the work done by you and the kids, everything is clearly described. Then materials required. During the activity, what the materials you used, that the kids are used in the activity, that should be mentioned clearly. This format is to be followed while writing all the activity plan. This format has been discussed in Unit 22. You have already covered in your theory part, DECE paper course 1, Unit 22. Refer to that unit as well when writing the activity plan. While the general instruction for writing an activity plan have been given here, there may be some additional aspects specific to a particular activity session. In such a case, that specific information instruction has been discussed under the respective activity session. And sample activity plan 1. This is sample activity plan 1. Since the festive of Diwali was approaching, This learner look up Diwali as the theme for the next 3 days and planned an activity session on this theme each day. One of our activity session was reproduced on the subsequent page. So ଏଠି କିଛି activity plan example ଦିଆଯାଇଛି ତ concept ହେଉଛି ଦିୱାଲି ଦିୱାଲି ଯେହେତୁ approach କରୁଛି ଆଗକୁ ସେଠି ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଏଠି the students or kids take interest in this activity because they are already exposure about Diwali festival and how Diwali is celebrated and how they celebrate Diwali in their home. What are the foods they eat and how they um, approaching to their family members or relatives. All those things they have already exposed about that. Get opportunity before about that. So this is a concept Diwali and how you organize the Diwali activity. This is a example activity plan for the session. To plan before planning, you have to keep in mind that you mention in a report that is goal of the activity, description of the activity, and material required. So here, to plan activity on theme Diwali, I shall carry out two activity in this session. So the educator carry out two activities for Diwali, and his goal was activity one. Activity one, the goal for activity one is to build upon children's awareness of the festival of Diwali by carrying on a discussion on this theme. So, by simply interacting with the children, by discussing asking some questions to the children, by discussing the educator want to aware the children, aware about the children about the festival Diwali by carrying on a discussion on this theme. Through the discussion to help in the cognitive and language development of the children. This activity develop the cognitive aspect and language aspect of the child. So the child's cognitive and language development occurs by this activity. So, activity 2. What is the goal behind the activity 2? The educator organized two activity and the first activity, the goal is to develop the language and cognitive aspect. And in activity 2, the goal behind the activity 2 is to nurture the children imagination and creativity and to give them an opportunity to express themselves through uh, drawing based on the theme Diwali. So very nice. The teacher want to develop the creativity and imagination activity. The goal is to develop creativity and imagination among the children. The first part is completed. Whatever your goal for activity one, activity two, you mention here. Then go for the detailed description of the activity. So activity one, what the educator is doing here is I shall begin the activity session with a discussion on the theme Diwali. Most of the children will be familiarized with the festival of Diwali. I shall begin the discussion by asking them questions like, all of you celebrate Diwali? Don't you? Then do you know why we celebrate Diwali? I will link up the responses of children to the story of Rama and Sita and narrate it briefly. I will ask them leading questions like, do you eat sweets? Do you light candles? And encourage them to participate. So here the educator by asking some question involving the children and the children replied the question of the educator and by this question answer and discussion session the students can aware about the Diwali whatever things uh, do in the Diwali festival they know about the all the things about Diwali. So all the children will participate in this activity. The activity will take around 15 minutes. Then activity 2. This is the detailed description of the activity 1. Now this is the description of activity 2. Here, following the discussion, I shall set up a drawing activity wherein I shall ask children to draw something related to the festival Diwali. I shall tell them that they will make Diwali cards in this way to give her whatever they want. The educator discussed after discussing the theme about Diwali by asking some question. He want to the children do the painting or drawing activity whatever they like about Diwali. So I shall provide. The educator said that I shall provide a uh, box of crayons to a group of 5 to 6 children. In this way, there will be 5 groups of children, and I shall move among different groups that all children are gathering and come to use the crayons and shall talk to them about what they are drawing. As each of the um child involves in the drawing activity and uh, and they draw whatever they want. Then I shall write the name of the person to whom this child want to send the card, the message Happy Diwali and the child's name, Happy Diwali and the child's name. All the children will participate in this activity. The activity will last around 15 to 20 minutes. Thus, the activity session will be of about 30 to 35 minutes. So here the whole activity is going for 30 to 35 minutes, and the educators want to uh, develop creativity and imagination among the children, and he or she group the children, two or four or six children group in the group, and there are total 5 or 6 group, and the educator provides crayons and colors to them, and also the paper or card to them. They paint and draw there, and after that the educator tell them to mention happy front of the card, and what the children send to whom the children send to the card and mention it there. So here the children's creativity is fostered clearly, and whatever they like to do in the card, they that type of drawing or coloring they do. So this activity foster creativity and imagination among the small kids. This is the second step. First step, whatever the goal is clearly mentioned, and in the second stage, whatever activity is done in detail, you mention here. Then after that, whatever the material required for the activity, here is mentioned. The activity one is a simply discussion, question and answer discussion session. So there is no teaching learning materials. But in activity two, the educator mentioned that he or she use the children's use the crayons and 25 to 30 sheets of paper. Is it clear? ବୁଝିହେଲା ନା କିଛି doubt ଅଛି? ବୁଝିହେଲା?
Yes, madam.
ପ୍ରଥମେ ଗୋଲ୍ କ'ଣ ଅଛି, ପିଲାର କୋଉ ପ୍ରକାର ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ହବ ସେ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିଜ୍ ତାକୁ କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ମେନସନ୍ କରାଗଲା। ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ପାର୍ଟରେ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିରେ କ'ଣ କାମ ପିଲା କଲେ, ଟିଚର କ'ଣ କଲେ, ଡିଟେଲ୍ସରେ ମେନସନ୍ କରାଗଲା। ଥାର୍ଡରେ ସେଇ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ପାଇଁ କ'ଣ ମେଟେରିଆଲ୍ସ ଦରକାର ସେଟା ମେନସନ୍ କରାଗଲା। Then activity plan for the session. To plan an activity on the theme plants, I shall carry out the activity in this session. So here, goal of the activity. Goal of the activity to make the children aware of how seeds germinate and grow into plants. Already the children, so some children have exposure whenever they plant seeds in gamla or taking some part of the plant and it become ଗୋଲାପ ଡାଳ ଲଗାଉଛନ୍ତି ଗଛରେ କୁଣ୍ଡରେ ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ ହେଇଯାଉଛି ଆଲୋଭେରାର ଯେଉଁ ଡା- ପିଲ ଯେଉଁ ମାରୁଛି ସେଟାକୁ ଆଣିକି ଲଗାଉଛନ୍ତି ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ସିଏ ବି ଗଛ ଏସବୁ ଦେଖିଛି ଅଲରେଡ଼ି ସେ ଅଲରେଡ଼ି ଏଟାକୁ ଏକ୍ସପୋଜ କରିଛି ବା ଅଲରେଡ଼ି she or he has experienced it in his daily life. The teacher want to conduct a activity on the theme plant, and behind this activity the goal is to aware about the child how seeds germinate, how the plant grow. So here the content of the activity is I will describe the process of germination to the children with the help of drawings. What I will tell them is briefly as follows. When there is adequate air and moisture and the temperature is right, seeds germinate. The seeds absorbs water and waters and minerals. After a few days, a thin white shoot tip emerges. This will grow downward and finally become the root. After some more days, the tip of the stem emerges. This will grow upward and turn into stem. On the stem, the leaves appears and fruits will emerge. In this way, a whole plant grows out of the seeds. The following will be the drawing that I will show the children while developing the process, while describing the process. So it is details about the activity. The educator aware about the plant, how the seed germinate, and how the plant grow. So here is the picture of the germination. Here is the seed, and whenever we um, plant the seed in the soil, after some days, after 4 to 5 days, or approximately 7 days, a radicle is emerged from the seed, and the part of the radicle is under the soil, and part of the radicle is above the soil. The part of the radicle under the soil go towards the downward, and part of the radicle go for upward. The upward radicle is called shoot, and the downward is becoming the root. So this is the picture of the germination of the seed. So after I have told them about germination takes place, we will have a discussion where I will answer children's queries and ask them questions to find out how much they have understood. The entire session will take about half an hour. During this session, I will be working with children together as a group. So it is better if we practically experience the children with the germination of the seed. In the first day, we uh, plant a seed under the soil, and all the children observe, and whenever like this जो पूजा vacation, we can give them a project or asking them to how germinate seed. You are doing this type of work. They have already discussed and they have already aware, so they can do the activity in their home by the help of their elders. Otherwise, you can also organize this type of activity inside or in the environment of your preschool environment. ଆମେ ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ ମଞ୍ଜିକୁ ପୋତିକି ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ କୁଣ୍ଡରେ ଦେଖେଇ ପାରିବା, କାରଣ it takes 7 to 8 days to germinate. So ସେଠି easily it can create interest, and practically they observe how the seed germinate and how the shoot develop and how the root developed, and they become the idea of clear picture about the seed germination. So it is better if it is doing in the environment of the preschool. In day one, you plant a seed, and in day seven, you can observe the shoot and root. If differentiate the shoot and root in front of the children. So here the educator, by discussion and by showing the figure of seed and plant, aware about the germination of the plant. The material required is drawings of the different stages of the germination process. You can show it is a video, simply video documentation in the smart board. Otherwise, a drawing of germination of seed to the children. बुझिए लगी? You any doubt?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ।
तो ଏଇଠି ଆମେ ହଁ କିଏ କ'ଣ ପଚାରୁଥିଲ?
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବୁଝିହେଲା ତ।
ତ ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲି ପିଲାକୁ ସେଇଠି ପ୍ରି ସ୍କୁଲରେ ବା ଅଙ୍ଗନବାଡ଼ିରେ ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ କୁଣ୍ଡରେ ପୋତିକି ମଞ୍ଜି ଟୋଟାଲ 7 days ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିରେ ଆଫ୍ଟର 7 days ଆମେ ଦେଖେଇ ପାରିବା, ନହେଲେ ତାକୁ ପୂଜାରେ ଜର୍ମିନେଟ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ସିଟ୍ ସେ ଦେଇପାରିବା। ଅଦରୱାଇଜ୍ ଆମେ ଚିତ୍ର ଭିଡ଼ିଓ ଦେଖିକି ସିମୁଲେସନ୍ ମୋଡ଼ରେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଆଇଡ଼ିଆ ବା ଆୱେୟାର କରିପାରିବା ହାଉ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟ ଜର୍ମିନେଟ୍ସ। This is the while the report of the activity session that very day when the event are still fresh. We have already discussed everyday report is written every day. Otherwise, you forgot some part of the activity. So it is better to write the very day the report. The report is written the same day or very day. If you had conducted more than one activity in the session, then report on each of the activity in the order uh, in which you had carried them out. If you take an activity one in first session, you can mention it, and if you take activity two in the first session, you have already mentioned it. You should have mentioned clearly the sequence of activity. So report on each day activity with respect to uh, uh, each or following aspects. What was the duration of the activity? Whether you conducted the activity with all the children together or with only a few. In case of the latter part, what did you other children do? If you divide the whole class in two groups, and with one group you are conducted a field activity and other group with a conceptual activity or cognitive activity, then you should have mentioned the first group have the pre-play activity and second group have the cognitive activity. So how did the activity actually take place? It is possible that the play activity did not proceed in the way you had written in the activity plan. This may happen because of various reasons. Obviously, the play activity is the free play activity, and during the very moment and at the situation, students' interest can vary and may vary. Student interest may vary, and they create interest. Sometimes they create interest to do some types of play, and other time they are also interest another type of play. So it is not limited, and it is. Student interest is very vast, so it is because of various reasons such as the children did not show an interest in the planned activity, and so you decide to bring about a change at the very moment of or while carrying out the activity. You had an inspiration and thought of a better way of doing it. So every time you have to encourage and motivate the child to whatever he or she like to do. Similarly, it could well be that if you had planned more than one play activity in the activity sessions, The children got so interested in some aspects of the first activity that you decided to build on that aspect instead of carrying out the activity that you have planned. So at the very time you can change the plan, and according to the student's interest, you can change your plan and make make involve all the children into the activity for the remaining part of the activity session. Such changes while carrying out the activity sessions are not a reason to worry. However, your report must clearly explain why you felt the need to bring about. ବେଳେବେଳେ କିଛି ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିଥାନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ଅନ୍ ଦ ସ୍ପଟ୍ରେ according to the student interest ରେ କିଛି ଚେଞ୍ଜେସ୍ କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼େ. So you don't have to worry about it, and whatever you do you can mention whatever you plan, but it may be changed in the spot or during carrying out the activity, but you can mention it, and why you can change the activity you can clearly mention in your report. Was your role in the activity? Were you in the background sleeping when needed, or did you play more active role? Describe. Was the activity appropriate to the age? These questions are for you for your reflection. ଯେତେବେଳେ ମୁଁ activity କରୁଛି ମୋର role କ'ଣ ସେତେବେଳେ I am visiting in middle of the space or playground, and focus your eye on each and every group or every individual of the children. These are the reflection questions about you. Was the activity appropriate to the age of the children? Whenever you plan the activity you have to reflect about these types of questions. How far did the activity interest the children? ମୁଁ ଯେଉଁ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଭାବୁଛି ସେଟା ପ୍ରକୃତରେ ଚିଲଡ୍ରେନ୍ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କରିବ କି? ୟୁ ହାଭ୍ ଟୁ ରିଫ୍ଲେକ୍ଟ ଦିସ୍ ଟାଇପ୍ସ ଅଫ୍ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍ ଇନ୍ ୟର୍ ମାଇଣ୍ଡ whenever you plan your activity. Then show your report to the guide on the next day. She would have given you a verbal feedback as to how you carried out the activity during the sessions that very day itself. She will write her comments on the report as well as give you mark. If the activity is very good, the your guide maybe remark that it is very good and it's inspiration for you and motivate you for the next plan. Otherwise, if the activities need some rectification or correction or modification, at that time also the guide can mention that comment in your report. It is for your better performance, and you take it as your positive feedback of your guide, and according to the feedback of your guide you can change your plan or report for the next session or next activity. While the general instruction for writing a report have been given here, there may be some additional aspects specific to a particular activity sessions. In such a case, that specific information or instruction has been discussed under the respective activity. To help you understand how to write report, two sample reports written by two learners have been reproduced here. They are based on two activity plans. Here, some report is presented uh, by prepared by some one learner. That is, the activity session went fairly well. Most children participated in the discussion. They talked enthusiastically about the Diwali festival. Most families had begun to some preparation at home for the festival, and the children talked about these. Some responses of children were as follows. Whenever you are asking the questions to the students or learners or small kids, their response has various types. They talk in various ways. So here are some responses or examples how the kids are responses to your questions. So मेरे पापा बहुत ढेर सारे पटाखे लाए हैं. मेरा बड़ा भाई पटाखे जलाता है. कल मेरी मौसी अम, मिठाई लेकर आई थी. मुझे मिठाई अच्छी लगती है. मैं लेकर जब एजुकेटर पूछते हैं तुम्हारी दिवाली में तुम क्या क्या करते हो, तुम्हारे घर में क्या क्या होता है, तो इस टाइम में वो बच्चा क्या रिस्पॉन्स रखता है और बच्चा क्या कहता है, अम, उसका एक एग्जाम्पल ऐसे यहाँ मेंशन है। सो मुझे मिठाई अच्छी लगती है, मैं लेकर भी आई हूँ। मेरे घर में लाइटें लगी हैं, मम्मी दिए और कैंडल लेकर आई। मेरी बहन और मेरे लिए मेरी बहन और मेरे लिए नई फ्रॉक लाई है। सो एक बच्चा इसी तरह का जवाब देता है। सो अनदर किड responds that my father got a lot of crackers. My brother brushed the crackers yesterday. This is the translation, I think, for the previous Hindi. Yesterday, my auntie got sweets. I like sweets. I have got some. These are light in my house. My mommy has brought candles. There are new frocks for me and my sister. So took in this opportunity to take to child about the precaution that should be observed while learning. Uh, Most children seem to um, know why we celebrate Diwali. The usual responses was uh, next question the teacher asked that why Diwali is celebrated. Here this is the response of this question. इसीलिए बनाते हैं क्योंकि राम ने रावण को मारा. We celebrate Diwali become Ram killed Ravan. I elaborated on this story beginning in the role of Sita. The drawing activity after the discussion. Here is the some responses of the kids or child. So after that, the educator briefly telling the story about the Rama and Sita. Then the drawing activity after the discussion was also successful. The discussion had stimulated children imagination. Many themes emerged in the children drawing. बहुत गुड़े themes व imagination and draw children in their seat. Some draw a fight scene between Rama and Ravana. Others made drawings of children burning crackers. They were very happy when I wrote the names of their family members on the back of their seats. Since a group of children had to share a box of crayons, these were occasions when I had to intervene to prevent a light. So whenever the children share the crayons with each other, a cooperative environment is created in this stage or in this age. They do not share their things with others, but here this type of activity can create opportunity to share their things. And social emotional development also occurs in this situation. Towards the end, since I was the only one who was writing on the cards, and most of the children had finished the drawing at almost some time, um, all of them gathered around, crowded around me, saying, "Auntie, write on mine." This caused a fight to break out between two children. I managed to control the situation. ବେଳେବେଳେ କ'ଣ ହୁଏ ପିଲାମାନେ କ୍ରେୟନ୍ ସେୟାର କଲାବେଳେ ଫାଇଟିଂ ଲାଗିଯାନ୍ତି, ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେଠି ଏଜୁକେଟର ତାଙ୍କର କପିରେ ଲେଖୁଛନ୍ତି ବା ନିଜେ ଲେଖି ଦେଉଛନ୍ତି କାଗଜରେ, ସେଠି ଛୁଆମାନେ କ'ଣ କରନ୍ତି ନା ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ମୋର ଲେଖି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ, ଆଣ୍ଟି ମୋର ଲେଖି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଯିଏ ଯେଉଁ ସମୟରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଟିକେ ଫାଇଟିଂ ଲାଗିଯାଇଛନ୍ତି ସେତେବେଳେ the educator is very careful and control the situations. I could not ask for help on the moment since she was in the other helper also there, but she does not need her help. Most of the children, after completing the drawing on one sheet of paper, wanted move paper to draw Upon while I had a few extra seat, I did not have enough for all next time. I shall take care of this aspect. ସେଠି ପିଲା ସାରିକି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ପେପର ନେବା ପାଇଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ସର୍ଟେଜ ପଡ଼ିଯାଇଛି ତ ସେଠି ଏଜୁକେଟର become reflect herself that in the next time here she being some other paper or additional paper. So this is the improvement of herself, or this is the reflection of herself. The discussion took larger than 15 minutes, longer than 15 minutes. I had planned it took about 20 to 25 minutes. The drawing activity took 30 minutes. So within 30 minutes, all the drawing activity is covered, is completed. So here all about the description of the activity 2 and the details children's work and the educators work details description is here. So like this you have described your report and your activity. Then another example is here report of the activity session. I had the children around me in a semicircle and uh, telling them about how germination occurs. This is the activity of germination, and this is the details report. What are the children doing in the activity, and what is the educator doing in that activity? So, telling them about how germination occurs in the top has been mentioned in the activity plan. I had the drawings of the different stages of germination reading with me, and I held them up and around the relevant ones at different stages during the talk. ଯେତେବେଳେ the educator discussing about germination at the time of he whatever he say ଯାହା ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେଇ ଟାଇମରେ କିନା ସେଇ ପିକ୍ଚରଟା ସେ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖାଉଛନ୍ତି. So I was interpreted um, a few times by the children wanting to know something. However, I had divided that answering questions during the talk would disrupt the flow. ବେଳେବେଳେ ପିଲା ଦେଖେଇବା ମଝିରେ କିଛି କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍ ପଚାରୁଛନ୍ତି. So I responded each time by saying that questions would be announced after I had finished explaining. ତ ସେତେବେଳେ ଏଜୁକେଟର ପିଲାଙ୍କ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍ ପଚାରିବା ପାଇଁ ପରେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ତମେ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲେନ୍ କଲା ପରେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍ ପଚାରିବ. So I took around 10 minutes to explain the process of germination and then I invited children to ask questions. However, by now most of children were no longer interested in the topic. When this even these who had asked questions earlier did not repeat their questions. Therefore, I took up a couple of questions that had been asked and elaborated upon the answers. For example, a child had asked, "Why does the root tip grow downward?" I took up this question and explained that the root tip turns into the root and therefore it um, comes out front because it has to draw food from the house. Here he explained that the root tip is go downward because the root tip collect food for the plant, collect food from the soil for the plant, and sustains the growing plant. However, the children had become quite reactive and interested by now by questions based on my talk also went answered. I realized that the children were bored. I had now not dealt with the theme in an interesting way. It was not appropriate for the level of children's understanding. So I decided to conclude this activity. I had estimated that the discussion and the theme germination would take up the root of the takes of the rest of the time in the session. So here the educator realized that if I saw picture and then during the picture whenever the students ask the question, they do not respond their question. After that they do not ask anymore. So the students getting bored. So this activity is not appropriate for their age. The educator realized that this activity is not appropriate for them. Then uh, this did not happen, and still 15 minutes were left. I had to think of some other way of involving children in an interesting activity. Since I did not have anything replacement, the only option at that time seemed to be setting of indoor free play, since play materials were easily available in the room. Thus, for the remaining time, children played with plastic rings, dolls, and an assortment of other toys that had been replaced on low shelves in the room. I let them play as they wished and intervened only when and a couple of uh, occasions. Some children fought ever something, and when a child was about to tear a picture storybook, thus the um, I had planned for this session were not successful. Children did not seem to have grasped the concept of germination. They did not find my talk interesting, and it did not help their attention. So I now feel that instead of explaining the leaves of germination verbally, I should have got some grains of any whole pulse, set up an experiment on germination, and should the children the process of germination involve the children in the process of germination actually taking place over several days. Each day children could have for themselves observe the changes taking place. It involved therefore be better to have germination as a theme spanning several days. On one of the day children could be uh, children could be germinated calls when only the uh, germinated calls as a whole they create interest themselves. Further, I should not have um, recruited children questions and comments to the end of the talk. I should have encouraged children to comment and ask questions during the talk instead of creating this disruption. So here we have already you have already planned, and after your planning you carry out during the activities, student do not create an interest. So you just stop that activity, and so simultaneously you just organize a play activity. You can organize a free play activity. ଯଦି ପିଲାମାନେ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ନେଲେ ନାହିଁ ତ ମୋ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିରେ, ତ ମୁଁ ଆଗରୁ କିଛି ମୋର ବ୍ୟାକଅପ୍ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ରେଡ଼ି କରିନାହିଁ, ମୁଁ ଭାବିଥିଲି ଏଟା ନେବେ, ତ ସେଇ at that very moment you can organize a free play activity. So student can get back their interest. Mm, but I reflect or you reflect yourself that germination where the concept of germination by showing the picture is not appropriate for the 3 to 6 year child. So it is better to organize the experiment. I also discussed before that it will be better if you organize the experiment and you plant some seeds and observe day by day what is going on. So in this experiment, the students come daily and observe the growth of the seed, and they can create their interest, and they can themselves answer all the question by themselves. So it is it is your reflection from this report. ବୁଝିହେଲା ନା କିଛି ବୁଝିହେଲାନି? ବୁଝିହେଲା? Is it understood? ବୁଝିହେଲା କି? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
କିଛି ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସ ଆସୁନି, ବୁଝିହେଲା ତ?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଯଦି ଆମେ ଭାବୁଛେ ଯେ ଆମର ସେଇ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଯାହା ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିଥିଲେ ତ ସେଟା ଫ୍ରୁଟଫୁଲ୍ ହଉନି ବା ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ ହଉନି, ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ବା ବୋର୍ଡ ହେଇଯାଉଛନ୍ତି, we feel that from their expression, facial expression and from their activity, at that very moment we stop that activity and organize a backup activity. If we have no backup activity, we can organize simply a free play activity with the play materials. ତ ଆମେ ସଙ୍ଗେ ସଙ୍ଗେ ସେଠି ଡ୍ରପ୍ କରିବା ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିକୁ ଆଣ୍ଡ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଖେଳିବାକୁ ଚାନ୍ସ ଦେବା। ତ ସେଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ବେଟର୍ ଆମର ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟିକୁ କେମିତି ବେଟର୍ କରିବା ବା ଆଉ ଟିକେ ବେଟର୍ କରିବା ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଆଣିବା ପାଇଁ ଆମେ ନେକ୍ସଟ ଟାଇମ୍ ସେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ଟାକୁ କରିପାରିବା। ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି? ୟେସ୍ ଅର୍ ନୋ?
Yes, ma'am.
ଦେନ୍ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ଫେଜ୍ର କିଛି ପ୍ଲାନ୍ ଅଲରେଡ଼ି ଆମେ ଡିସ୍କସ୍ ଏଇଟା କରିସାରିଲେ ଆଉ ରିପିଟ୍ କରିବାନି। Then managing a large group of children, it have already we have already discussed. Whenever we have 1 to 15 or 20 kids, we can organize one activity, one group activity. And if we have 30 to 35 children, we can divide the group into 2 or 3 groups, and according to the group, we organize different activity for different groups. And here we can take help of the Anganwadi helper. ସେଠି 2 ଜଣ ଥିବେ, ଅଙ୍ଗନବାଡ଼ି ୱାର୍କର ଆଣ୍ଡ ହେଲ୍ପର। ସୋ ହେଲ୍ପରର ଆମେ ହେଲ୍ପ ନେଇପାରିବା। One activity we can organize a free play activity for one group, and for other group we can organize a cognitive activity or paint or color activity. After that we can exchange the activity with both the group. So here this is mentioned, for some play activity you may be able to work with the large group as a whole. Activities such as singing, rhyme, song, storytelling, puppet, so coloring, outdoor and indoor free play. These activity can be organized within a large group. Of course, you will have to be careful to ensure that there are adequate play materials for all. ଦେଖିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ ଯେ ସଫିସିଏଣ୍ଟ ପ୍ଲେ ମ୍ୟାଟେରିଆଲ୍ ଅଛି କି ନାହିଁ, otherwise we have to divide the group. For instance, there should be enough paint, crayons and paper for everyone. If there is shortage of play material equipment, then you may need to divide children into sub group, ନହେଲେ ସେମାନେ fighting ଲାଗିବେ, we cannot organize smoothly your activity. So group has explained in unit 30. For some play activity, it would be difficult for you to handle 30 to 35 children. Activity where you need to give greater attention to each child would be difficult to organize a large group. So you can divide the group, and according to the student's interest, you can provide the play activity or any other type of activity. This is clearly mentioned in the unit 30 of your course 1. Whenever you plan your activity, you refer that module unit 30. So when planning and carrying out an activity, कौन मने रखिया कथा हम already discuss कर सारे. Activity you plan should be appropriate for the interest to your group of children. Otherwise, you drop that activity and organize a backup activity or free play activity. To ensure that it is possible to carry out your proposed activity in the nursery school, there is adequate space and play material for all of the kids. For some play activity, play materials and equipments may available in the nursery school itself. When they are not, you would need to think of alternative. You know that the environment is a rich source of play material. Things normally considered waste in one house can be converted into play materials with imagination. Low cost material. Uh, Here you talked about the low cost material, and is also mentioned in your block DEC paper course one. How if there is not sufficient play material, you can yourself organize from the whatever we do not use in our home, and from the unused materials we can prepare teaching learning materials or play materials by yourself. To be innovate and think of a variety of activity to be carried out in the various activity sessions. With regard to most of themes listed in the section, it is by and large possible to organize a drawing, painting, sufficient crayon. Already we have discussed that whenever sufficient material is not available, we can um, divide the group, and according to their ages we can provide activity. Sometimes it happens that play material is not enough and children have to share the play materials. In this case, ensure that each child get a turn. ଯଦି ପାଖରେ ନାହିଁ ସଫିସିଏଣ୍ଟ, ତାହେଲେ ସବୁ ପିଲା ସେ ଖେଳଣାକୁ ୟୁଜ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ସ୍କୋପ୍ ଯେମିତି ପାଇବେ ସେଇ ହିସାବରେ ଆମକୁ ଭାବିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ ବା ଲକ୍ଷ୍ୟ କରିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ. And although you must encourage all children to participate in the activity. If the teacher observes that some students are not participating, it is the duty and role of the educator that motivate the child and encourage the child to participate with each other friends. If you have divided children into subgroups, or if children are playing individually, then move among the different groups of children. This will help you to resolve any conflict that may come up, give you an opportunity to help children understand their discovery, ensure that all children participate, give you an opportunity to talk to each child and know her him better, and enable children to ask you questions. During the activity, you move here and there, and uh, give importance to each and every child, and each and every child queries, and interact with each and every child. So the each child is encouraged and motivated. That while carrying out an activity, you must talk to the children about it and the concept that emerge from it. This will help children to understand and acquire concept. Also tell you how far children have understood that they are doing. So continue ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁ ଚାଲୁଛି, ସେତେବେଳେ ଇଚ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଏଭ୍ରି ଚାଇଲ୍ଡ ସହିତ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ୍ କରିବା, ତା ସହିତ କଥା ହେବା, ତାର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍କୁ ମିଟ୍ କରିବା, ତା କ୍ୱେରିକୁ ମିଟ୍ କରିବା, ଏବଂ କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ ସେ କରୁଛି ତା ସହିତ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା କଲେ ସେଠି କ'ଣ ହେବ, ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ମୋଟିଭେଟେଡ୍ ହେବ, ଆଉ ଦେ student also easily understand the concept. Beside these general aspects, some specific factors that you must bear in your mind, that your guide will be considering all these aspects while evaluating your method. ତମେ କ'ଣ ସେଠି କାମ କରୁଛ, କୋଉ ଭଳିଆ ପିଲାଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଡିଲ୍ କରୁଛ, all will be observed by your guide. So your guide evaluate your work um, by these observations. So here is the explanation of activity 1. We have already so much discussion about activity 1 and activity 2. Activity 2 रे हमें कौन करिबा, activity ର example already you have discussed. So I think it need not be discussed anymore. Uh, this is the activity plan, then carrying out activity in details, then report of the activity, then what are the materials required. I already discussed. ଆଉ କିଛି discussion କରିବାର ଅଛି କି ନା ଏତିକିରେ ଆମେ ସାରିବା?
ଏତିକିରେ ଛାଡିବା ମ୍ୟାଡାମ,
ଅଲରେଡି
ଏତିକି।
ଅଲରେଡି ଆମେ ଏଗୁଡାକ ବହୁତ ଥର ନମ୍ବର ଅଫ ଟାଇମ୍ସ ଡିସ୍କସ୍ କରିସାରିଲେଣି। ତ ସେଇଟାକ ଏଠି କିଛି ହିଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଦେଇଛି, ତମେ ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି 1 କୁ କେମିତି କରିବ, ତ some hints is there, and how to plan your activity. Here is some presentation and how to carry out your activity and how to write your report. Already we have discussed many times. Uh, so thank you everyone, and I want to show the new Arunima to you. Uh, Yesterday I told, so now I show you new Arunima.